Hi, welcome to my channel. It's Erica Wood-Scott with Shades of Autism Parent Network. And welcome to our Spectrum Sister Chat for Saturday, August. Lord have mercy, where am I at? April.
Yeah.
We're in April.
Yeah, listen,
April.
we take it day by day over here as well.
Right, okay. So we're still in April, praise the Lord. But I'm thankful to have with me the ladies of the Autism Grind. I love what they do. I've been following you for the last year since my son got the diagnosis. Thankfully, how I found community within this times of COVID has been through Facebook groups. And and your group was one of the ones that I've enjoyed so much. Great, just learning, shared from the other moms and topics and just all of that. So to me, I'm kind of like fangirling having to be able to talk to you for me.
It's all good. You family.
That's right. Now, that's right. Once we have that first conversation, we're family.
That's right. Thank you for being.
We have the same experiences, so we're family.
Oh, good. Well, we're definitely going to talk about those experiences, and also too, my always hope is to share what my experience has been and hear from others. Hopefully, inspire others as well. And for those who haven't yet, maybe gotten their child, reviewed or analyzed to see if they possibly may have autism. Because one thing we know in April still is Autism Awareness Month, is that oftentimes, Black children or children of color are diagnosed later because unfortunately we may not have known those signs to look at earlier.
Right.
So really my first question to both of you, and of course, when I ask you a question, please do share more about yourself and to the audience as well. But my question for you to answer as well, what were some of the first signs that you saw in your child that led you to begin getting assessment to find out the official diagnosis of autism? And for that, I'll kick it to Daria to introduce herself and then answer that question.
Okay, well, actually, I'm Daria Boyd. I have actually two children on the spectrum. I have a daughter who's 11. She is nonverbal. When I say nonverbal, verbally. However, she does use a device to communicate, her AAC device. And I have a 7-year-old son. He's more verbal. However, let me back it up to my daughter, the first signs. Okay, so however, I thought my daughter was on the right track, so around a little after 1.5 years old, she started doing some awkward behavior. She started becoming a tippy-toer and just pacing back and forth. And I was like, what's she doing? It didn't look right, for me. And then I lost the eye contact, and then my good friend Dawn here, and I reached out to her and I was giving her some of this, some of the signs. And she was like, yeah, you might want to go ahead and get her tested. So it was a beauty for me that I had a friend who was already ahead of me in this game. But you would never think that, your friend have a child with autism, then it's you, who would have thought that, but the fact that she already had the knowledge. So those were some of the signs of my daughter. And then she wouldn't chew anymore. It's like, everything had to be pureed, and she had difficulty. She would gag anything that had texture, So those was that was the major signs when I say that I lost the eye contact, and then she started becoming a tippy-toer and then pacing, repetitive behavior, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, for my son, you want me to go with my son now as well?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
For my son, it was a little bit different. I thought we hit the ballpark. Oh, we good here. We good. However, then his language wasn't there. It was a little delayed. And I did go through early intervention services, and they would say, no, he's fine. So about 4 or 5 months, I said, no, he's still not really hitting that benchmarks like he should be. And then they came back and say, yes, he had a delay in his speech. Now, the eye contact was there, but now as he's getting older, sometimes that eye-to-eye contact, it is overstimulating for him. So his main thing was the language delay.
Thank you, Daria. Let me try to say that right, Daria.
Yeah,
thank you, Daria.
Good.
Okay. And then Dawn, but thankfully Daria had you the kind of question first. But how did you first? What sign did you first see in your child?
Okay, so my son currently is 18 years old, He's nonverbal, but he expresses himself through technology, through the iPad. He uses a touch chat app. So now let's go back to how did we get to this point? So when CJ was born, regular normal weight, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. I would say no, his behaviors at birth were normal. You know, the only thing that stood out, believe it or not, because CJ was my second child, I have a neurotypical daughter who was 2 years older than him. The only thing that stuck out at that point was his lack of eye contact. So when I would nurse him, believe it or not, even at a day or two old, he was looking to the side. You know, he would eat, but he would not look directly at me. Now, at that point, I had zero inclination that he had autism. I just, you know, he's a baby and they will do what babies do and they will all grow at different pace. And that's how I addressed that. And so then as he got older, he would cry unconsolably sometimes. So compared to my first child, because remember now I had these comparisons that I can make. Can say, okay, she's crying. Let me go ahead and hold her, you know, pick her up, hold her, change her diaper, feed her, the typical things that would help a child to calm down, a baby, a newborn to calm down, where he would cry unconsolably. So that was one of the second things that stood out to me is, wow, this child is, you know, my son really cries. And first thing that came to my mind, oh, he's colic. You know,
I was going to say that because, like, I'm getting a revelation back here. I'm kind of flashing back. Like, I remember that period, and I thought it was like, you know, colic. I don't know what it was.
Exactly. So now, remember, now these are things that are building now. Okay, so now I have lack of contact. I have a son who seems to be inconsolable, but as he grew older, he actually achieved normal physical milestones, meaning he sat up when he was supposed to, roll over, sit up, all those things were fine. He was always engaged with that TV. So now I had a toddler at the time and we're watching Blue's Clues or watching Dora, and his eyes were like glued to that TV. He was, to me, he wouldn't engage. He would never, ever get excited for me to come pick him up. You know, when babies' eyes light up when they see a parent or someone who's going to come and pick them up, he would just kind of look around. You know, he didn't have that social interaction. So that was like number 3. Where was that social, you know, mommy, look at me in my eye. I want you to pick me up. What happened was once he got to be about 10 months, 11 months, I realized that he wasn't even babbling. Okay, so like that was a major thing for me because I had a toddler who, and mind you, she's a girl. So now, of course, we have the whole girl, boys, first boy, and the girls progress faster than the boys. Right. And then once we got to 12 months, he still wasn't babbling. He wasn't saying mama, dada. Major to me. I open up, okay, we have a lot of things going on. Okay, so what is this? And, you know, and my parents are very supportive and, you know, they will go, Dawn, what do you think is going on? I said, well, I don't know. I'm going to have to take him to the doctor. You know what I mean? And guess what? When I took him to the doctor, what did the doctor say? He's a boy. Boys develop slow. You know, and so I had to go, make a long story short, go ahead and get a referral to infant and toddlers. We got him started with that. And he didn't get diagnosed until he was about 3 years old.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that, Dawn. And really, going back to looking at the infancy, I think oftentimes too, like, I mean, I haven't heard anyone describe it and noticing those signs and in the infant in those early months. I always hear it from like the 2-year-old up and up kind of area. But then too, it's like so helpful. It makes me like retrospect and think back at how it was. Kind of when I first brought him home, I was like, he cries so much. And by the very like, that's a normal baby, you know, all those kind of things too, like, and all those things. And I tried breastfeeding at first, and he was on there, but he wasn't really engaged with it that much. And so it was going to, surprisingly, he wouldn't like latch on and stay on. And I thought maybe it was just me and how I'm not know what I'm doing. So I was still breastfed, but I did it from the bottle type thing. But it's kind of made me just kind of reflect back on how it was in those earlier months and what could have saw and didn't notice.
Well. So, I mean, that's a great point because, you know, they consider autism to be regressive or non-regressive, right? Meaning, you know, with those symptoms. And what I believe Daria always describes in her early stages was, you know, the speech was there, the social engagement was there, but then it regressed. Where in our situation, we didn't have it at all.
Yeah,
from the beginning, so it was non-regressive.
Yeah, with my daughter, I mean, she was, like I said, she was hitting the benchmarks. I mean, she was babbling, she was talking, and then all of a sudden she just regressed. And then she became a tippy-toer, like I was saying. And then I lost eye contact. But it happened quick. But but when I look back, she did crawl awkwardly. She crawled with like a, you know, but I just thought that was just her style because she was flowing. I mean, she was moving, you know, things, you know.
Yeah, because like I thought my son was moving way kind of fast in a sense, but like he was like crawling to me around like 8-9 months. Then to me he started like walking, so like around like 11 months. So I was like, also okay, my baby advanced. I was telling everybody my baby advanced.
But there you go.
But you know why
he wasn't talking though.
But you know what? With my son, he didn't never he started walking 7 months, so he really didn't crawl. And then I, you know, reading, I said, you know, you're reading and find out information. They said that could be a sign when they skip the crawling back. So my son really never crawled. He went right into walking. Now it could have been because his sister, you know, was already walking. So he had someone that he was emulating, you know, at a faster pace, but the language wasn't there. That the development of the language was not there.
Wow. And then talking about language in the early years too, like around 18 months, he wasn't saying mama, daddy. So he wasn't babbling in those ways, but he was really loving TV, right? Then all of a sudden he was like repeating exactly word for word what I learned was echolalia. What was he was seeing on the show. So like it was randomly, we'll be somewhere and he'll say some script, you know, from a line.
That's right.
And so like, okay, my baby's smart some way. Like he may not say mom and daddy, but he knows something, right? These words make sense. And but then I started doing some research on my own. Because same thing about you, Don, and like my doctor and my family was like, you know, boys develop later. You know, don't worry, it's okay. You know, that's what happens. And I was like, something's not right. Like I'm looking at my other friends, and of course, comparison is the thief of joy, right? We know that, but you can't help but do that. So I'm like, well, their child is talking, they're saying all these things, and when I bring my son over to their house to play, and it's so funny because me and my really good friend, we were pregnant around the same time, but she had her son 2 months before I had mine, right? So we were always say, oh, they're going to be the instant best friends, right? Like we're going to raise them together and they'll be best friends. So it's a picture of my son and her son when he was like 6 months and he was 8 months, or no, 7 months, I don't know, maybe like 10, 11 months, whatever else. And the other son was like more engaged, like trying to play. Her son was trying to play with my son. My son would look at him like, and it was like one of those like side eyes, like don't touch me, fool. Like it was just like, and we would like laugh about it, like, oh, my son don't want to be bothered. You know, your son's annoying him already at 11 months. But those are the kind of things that possibly was showing signs then that is never noticed. I just figured my son's maybe, whatever.
Right. You figure they're developing at different pace, right? So you would hate to say, oh, by this point, they should be doing this. We try to give them flexibility, especially when the doctors are telling us it's okay. They're fine, and actually, isn't that music to our ears when we hear stuff like that? It's like we go to the doctor's office and we're like, oh my goodness. And the doctor's like, oh, don't worry about it. But guess what? We talk about this all the time. Our gut. Yeah. Okay. Our gut tells us exactly what's going on before any doctor will tell us. Our gut. And Daria and I, we got that thing about the gut. Follow your gut.
Follow your gut. I mean, it's to this day. I go to the doctors. They still can't find nothing wrong. Well, obviously something wrong. You know what I mean? Well, when I say wrong, I want to say that they're different. They are their own people, own persons. But they still cannot tell me. I didn't have, like you say, the MRIs, EEGs, everything. Everything is normal. So hey, they just are. That's what I say.
Well, I'm so happy that we're having this discussion because we have a really engaged audience already. So I have a question. Yeah.
All right.
I know. I'm so happy. Usually nobody watched me. So thank y'all. Yeah. It's because I have Daria and Dawn today.
We might have our grinders up in here. We're grinders.
Right.
They might be up in here. They know.
So I have a question from June Baker. I hope Barker won't mind me saying your name. She want to know, but did any of your children experience seizures at infancy, or do you know of any like that?
Well, okay. Well, with my daughter, we thought that she was, because she was a stare, like staring. So we thought that it was called like focals, the seizures. But she did an overnight stay. Matter of fact, Kennedy Krieger, and they did the EEG and then the MRI. Everything was normal. And right now, my son, no, we haven't had any signs of seizures or anything.
Okay. And I
would
say,
I was just going to add that we had the same thing. We had MRIs, nothing. No. CJ's never had a seizure, and it's never been detected in any test.
Yeah. And also, too, just so you know, people really find this helpful because they never thought of or heard discussions around signs at infancy or in those earlier months. So this is really people are really appreciating having this kind of conversation. So I'm glad it came up.
Go with your gut. That's what me and Dawn think. Go with your gut.
Exactly. So then let me ask the question then. So when, once you did get your official diagnosis at 3 or close to that, around that age time, what was first recommended for treatment for you, for your child?
I can start with that. From a medical, so, we go to our primary care pediatrician, right? And usually when we go to that doctor, we're looking for treatment for physical ailments. My son did not have any physical ailments, meaning, if he had an ear infection here and there, but that was it. So in regard to treatment, I received recommendations from a behavioral pediatrician at the Georgetown Autism and Communications Disorder Clinic. And they suggested speech language, speech treatment, occupational therapy treatment, a structured environment that I should follow. And I also was referred to specific programs such as Kennedy Krieger. And back then, CJ's 18 now. Back then, trying to get into a program at Kennedy Krieger, the waiting list was, people were trying to come from all over the nation because that was the only center at the time that was addressing autism. Of course, now we can go to anywhere now and get treatment. So back then, I got recommendations, but believe it or not, it was our county school program that really helped us. I was provided one-on-one ABA therapy starting at 18 months old, paid for by the county. So that was a blessing. Yes. That was our blessing. And he had that all the way up to 5 years old. And to this day, I attribute the success of that ABA program as to why he communicates so well with his device.
That's wonderful. Go ahead, Daria.
Okay, so where can I start? Hold on. I heard my kids. What's the question again? Because I hear my kids.
It's okay. So once you officially got the diagnosis, what was the first line of treatment that you began for them?
The first line of treatment was, again, I had my girl Dawn, and matter of fact, she told me, well, you need to see a behavioral pediatrician. I said, well, what is that? And I said, I ain't never heard of. I ain't know what it was. I was like, okay, I'm taking my kids to the regular doctor, pediatrician. So I did end up taking my daughter to the behavioral pediatrician. And then again, they write you a script. You get speech therapy, occupational therapy, therapy. Because again, my daughter was a tippy-toer. So they wanted to try to work with her on her walking, and monitor that. But for my son, it was early intervention services. And then from there, I was already ahead of the game. So once my daughter set the marks for me of what to do, so I was already prepared once, my son was, diagnosed. So again, speech therapy, occupational therapy, and then, that was it, and then I was introduced with an ABA, to receive ABA services. Yes.
Oh, good. So to just kind of share with the audience my signs that I noticed in my son that kind of led me to go get the diagnosis. I wish I had thought about it earlier in the months, But once he had got around 2 and I realized he wasn't having like conversations, when I brought with my friend, again, like my comparison buddy friend, and seeing how, okay, well, he's like super talkative. He's doing all these things. Roman is not. He tolerates it, but he's not like, really engaged there with them. So I realized something wasn't right. And then I had to shop around actually to find the right pediatrician who actually would hear me out. Because I felt like the other one was like you said, kind of dismissing my initial feeling of something is not right.
Right.
And then surprisingly, so they're like, oh, he's so cute. What does cuteness have to do with him not talking?
We get that all the time.
Listen. I used to get that all the time. He's cute and he's good.
But what they supposed to look like? It's still cute.
Right.
I mean, I know, right?
Right. Yeah. I just want to piggyback on the you said something that really I had to really just interrupt you really quickly. Going to different physicians to get that diagnosis in the beginning. I had one doctor tell me, a psychiatrist tell me, that I just needed to put CJ on a more structured environment. Don't give him as much juice and monitor his diet. Monitor his routine. I'm sorry. Don't give him as much juice. Basically, I thought it was a reflection of my parenting. Are you telling me that I'm not a good parent? That I need to put him in a structured environment and don't give him any juice anymore? I mean, is that going to solve my problem? Is that what I have not been doing all this time? Listen, I went home and tried it. It didn't work.
It didn't work.
That is funny.
So here we are again. But I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it just brought me to that story.
Yeah. But the big thing that just reiterates the importance of people to know is that don't stop at your first pediatrician. Like I said, follow your gut, follow your intuition, and keep fighting until someone finally hears you out. So I finally got to a great guy, great doctor. He was like immediately, yes, I see those same signs that your concerns. And he gave me the prescription. You know how insurance companies are, you gotta get a referral for everything. So, but once I got my referral and I actually had the assessment, and like I said, and then he got officially diagnosed, the door is open. But while I was waiting to get the official diagnosis from a doctor, I also began working the school system. I shouldn't say working, but I tried to get that, because I had a friend that told me about how they have early intervention programs for children who may be delayed at 3. He was turning 3. I'm like, you know what? This is where he needs to go. And thankfully, they did their analysis as well, and they came back with the same conclusion. And so before I got the doctor, the official one, so I was getting ready to pipeline him into going to the school system, because they were going to offer, the services free of charge, thankfully, even where they'll come pick him up from the house, put him in a car seat, and take him to the school to get therapy, which I thought was amazing. I couldn't let him do that, because I can't. No, in a sense of the bus riding. Oh, okay. Because I felt like he can't tell me what happened on the bus. Okay. If he can't tell me what happened, I can't do that. But the program was absolutely wonderful. But what blessed was that he was only ended up being there for a month, because by then I had got the official diagnosis from my insurance company. And then that opened doors to actually get more hours. Yeah. So he was able to get like 30 hours of ABA, with wraparound with speech and occupational at a center. So he was there from 9 to 3 every day, 30 hours a week, as opposed to the school one was like 3 hours a day. It was like a morning kind of program, 9 to 12 type day. Yeah. So, but I encourage others, work all avenues to you, follow your gut intuition. Thankfully, our school boards do have those early intervention programs. Yeah. Do it. Do it.
And when they have great, where Dawn and I, we're in the same county. They have great services for special education and also for the early intervention. So that's what both my children went through, the early intervention program, and then transitioned to the school-based program. And they also received the speech and OT services as well.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. Because my goal is, after he gets through this ABA through the center, is to get him transitioned into the school IEP program and all of that. And I'm definitely going to lean on you, mothers who've done it before, on how to do that. Because right now he's at the center doing well.
Listen, we're at different stages, so you just contact us at any time. Because she's still in the elementary school stage. I'm preparing for transition and out of school, so we have your back. Don't you worry about it.
Good. Well, thank you. I'm sure the audience love that too. We will definitely have future future episodes talk about all those stages along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And let me ask you this one question I always ask. So before you were a mom to your beautiful children, who were you? Like what was your focus? What was your thing? Who was Daria? Then who was Dawn before you became this great mom and advocate for your child?
Go, Dawn.
That's a good question.
Dawn is fabulous. Go, Dawn. Dawn is the fabulous one. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Oh no, she's gone.
We lost her. Where'd she go?
Well, Dawn, come on back and tell us who you were. But in the meantime, I guess go ahead, Daria.
She tried to slide up out of there. Okay. No. So who was I before I had my kids? Okay, let's see.
Okay, there she is. She's back. Go ahead.
Well, I actually love technology, right? Because apparently my answer was going to be like that good that
exactly.
So who was Dawn? Okay, so before CJ was born, I was married. I had a neurotypical daughter, and so we had a girl. Now we had a boy. So Daria and I met at Howard University, and so I studied to be a teacher. I did take time off once I had my kids, and I said, okay, I'm going to go back to the classroom after my son gets of age to, go to daycare. And I've helped, but that didn't happen, because of what CJ, I did attempt to go back to work. Him and the daycare situation did not work because he was not meeting his milestones. I taught for back then 1 year before I had to take off again, because I had to understand what was going on with my son. And that was a full-time job. And I had a hard time balancing a full-time job while trying to figure out what was wrong with him. But yes, I was going to be, teacher, then principal, then maybe superintendent, God had other plans, right? And I would tell you that God's plan was the best plan. Mm-hmm. Okay. What I'm doing now, I love my journey with my son, my kids. I wound up having another daughter shortly after my son, who's neurotypical. And I'm actually still in the education field per se, but I'm actually in corporate training. So I create e-learning modules, which actually help me out with my son, because now with technology, I'm learning how to create online, trainings, and that's helping me with my son because he's such a visual learner. So all things that happen were meant to be. Mm-hmm. And who I was prior to CJ has done that. Now it's just 10 times better now since I've had him. So I'll leave the floor to Daria.
I told you she famous. I told you that. I'm gonna say that. Okay, now say, who was I? Okay, let's see. All right, well, I was married. I was a wife. I was an entrepreneur. Okay, and I've always been an entrepreneur. And I was going to be run this multi-million-dollar business and this and that. I was on my way. I was doing very well. And then I had to say, hold up. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to maintain this. And because once my daughter was diagnosed, I had to focus on her, like Dawn said, to get a grasp of what was going on. So at that time, I had numerous government contracts. I ran a facilities management company. My background is mechanical engineering. And I had to basically just maintain what I had, but couldn't grow my business. But I was a business-minded person. And this journey has really opened up doors for me. Again, like I said, I had to take a step back, but it allowed me the time to be with my daughter, to understand what was going on. And then I had my second child. So I'm thinking, okay, my second child, we're going to be in business. It's going to be all right. Then I said, hold up, we got something going on here too. So then I really couldn't go back and build my company because I have now two totally different types on the spectrum. Totally different. So within a split second in my household, it's rocking. So I gotta, like, for instance, 10 to 1 this way and 10 to 1 in split seconds, because the way they communicate and understand is totally different. But right now I wouldn't trade my life, You know, like Don said, God had other plans for me. And I think this is where my lane is. I love what I'm doing now. I'm still in the business field. However, also we have this nonprofit that we're trying to build, you know, and next time, you know, but that's where my heart and passion is going, because right now my kids are where I think they should be. We clicking, you know, it's gonna always be a journey. But other than that, I haven't changed. I'm still the same person. I still like to party. I was partying before my kids. I party while my kids are here. And me and my husband, we still just do what we was doing because I didn't want it to change me. I realized in the beginning that when you try to lose yourself in this, it's not fun. And because it's not going anywhere, you know, so they are who they are. This journey is going to be here. So you have to figure out that balance and be who you are. So what you see right now is Dawn. This is what you're going to get. Okay. And I'm not changing. So I am still who I am. Bottom line.
Well, see, I love this conversation, and I love how open you both are to this, and everyone else is loving it too, because it's so refreshing to hear that, you know, you didn't lose yourself in the process of mothering, right? Like, or going to all these different doctor's appointments, and everything else that's been sometimes gets added to you when you have a child with special needs, that you still were able to maintain who your core person is, and then to still, you know, adapt to your child's needs. And if anything, that gives us newbies in this kind of even more so encouragement, you know.
But one thing, the key is Dawn, we always talk about what is the key? You got to accept it. I tell you, once you accept it, it's free.
That's right.
When I say the weight is off your shoulders, I mean, when you accept it, it's like, let's roll. That's mean, you have to accept it. And I tell parents that until you are ready to accept it, until you are ready to accept this lifestyle, hey, the sky is still the limit. You know,
that's right.
You have to accept it.
Yeah, and you know, and we have to understand too. You know, we have children that are different but able.
Yep.
Right, Dari, as we had this conversation. But challenges are going to happen when you have children that are different but able, and neurotypical children, right? And so when we have our mindset, you know, oh my goodness, this is happening to me. No, actually, life is going to always present challenges no matter what situation you're in. It's all about how do you tackle it. That's you can only tackle it if you accept your current situation and decide how to move forward. You know, you can't make a pity party out of yourself, right? You got to keep moving, right, Dari? What do we say? Keep it light. Keep it light.
Keep it moving. I mean,
we have children, right? We have children that are differently able, and we adapt to their needs, and we give them what they need to succeed in this world, and that's all. But we keep being ourselves.
Keep it
right. Exactly, and that kind of goes exactly back to where I said to how comparison can be a thief of joy. Like once I realized that okay, like why am I comparing it to my friend's child? It's like,
hello,
Roma is uniquely able. He's smart in his way and how he does his thing. And I'm like, you know what? I began to, like I said, once you accept it and you realize too that I'm not listening to something that's so minor, I guess, to steal my joy. And if anything, find the joys that he finds unique and all of that. So kind of like shifting your mindset really kind of goes back to that, like shifting your mindset, letting go of what you thought was it going to be like. And then so once you accept what it is, then you can build upon where it goes.
Very much. And you can have fun. And like you said, and that's why on our platform, you know, we have the Friday Night Grind. It's a space where be yourself. We're going to laugh. I mean, I've met parents that tell me, I've never even thought I could laugh about autism. Well, I say, well, you better laugh because they do some funny stuff. Okay. Just like it's typical. It is what it is. You're going to laugh, have a good time, but this is your life. Love your children, love your loved ones who have autism, because this is your life. So you better have fun with it. You better find where you can have fun with it, you know, or what I tell you, don't, it's going to eat you alive. It's going to eat you alive. So in my household, we party with my kids, my daughter, my son, we do it all. I try to expose them to anything and everything if they was neurotypical. Now that allows them to find out if they can do it. you know. Don always get on me. I had my daughter's first birthday at a swimming pool. She said, "Girl, did you what you tell me, Don?" Because I wasn't
she had her daughter's birthday party at a swimming pool. And if you are familiar with autism and how children on the spectrum are gravitated towards water, and there are a lot of unfortunate incidents around water, pools, lakes, things of that nature. And so when I said, where you having a birthday party? And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna go with her everywhere she go, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on my child. But she had her party near the deep end. I was like, Daria, I don't know what we doing here, but okay, I'm gonna go down this. But that being said, I think the moral of that story, whatever, is that she and I can talk and laugh about my neurotypical children, our children on the spectrum. You have to be able to talk. You have to be able to laugh in every situation, or you're gonna kill yourself.
And it's definitely a blessing, like I said, having a mother in the struggle, I guess you can say, with you, who you can laugh with and talk, is a huge blessing. And that's why having these like social media platforms now, it helps make the journey better. At least I know it has for me. And it's so funny. I have a question here from June in regards to swim lessons. She's saying how her son loves the water too, but can't swim, but wants to learn.
Right.
Like, what has been your experience in that, teaching them about water safety and all that?
Well, that's Daria. That's all Daria.
Now, okay, now I forgot it. I have to give you also my background. I'm an athlete. So I went to college. I played basketball. So sports and working out is just a part of my life. And I also teach my kids that, and try to expose them to that. So true story, Dara was 3 years old and I took her to take swim lessons. Because one thing I always wanted my kids to be water safety, because I love the water and I wanted to, again, what I wanted to do, I say I still wanted to take my kids to the pool. Okay. So I tell you the truth, I'm not one to get hooked up in a diagnosis. I'm just going to take my kids there, try to give them what they need. Hopefully they can do. If they can't, then we'll find something else to do. But I do not deny them the opportunity. So I took my daughter to the swim lessons. They threw her in. True story. They threw her in. She went down, came back up, and she just started floating. So and I'm looking at her, I'm like, oh, I know they didn't throw my baby in the pool. I guess they experts. I guess they know what they're doing.
And how old was she? How old at the time?
She was 3.
Okay.
3 years old. And even though I knew she had a diagnosis, I said that's even make me more. I wanted her even more to have that under her belt, that water safety, for her to be able to, just in case if she did, fall into a pool or whatever, I at least had time to get to her, and she has those skills. She went in, came back, and she started just floating. I mean, so the teacher said, well, have you taught her swimming? I said, no, that's why I brought her here to you, and she loves the water, and she's water safety. I have no problem if I take her to the pool. She knows how to brace. I mean, she knows how to go to the wall. She knows how to tread. And that's one thing that a lot of people can't do. She is a great treader and she just floats like that's her element. But again, I think that compensates for her sensory, a lot of children with autism, they have sensory, different type of sensory issues, not even issues, but
they're processing or whatnot.
They process the seek, they seek it differently. But my son, I put him in there. He was a screamer. He couldn't stand it. Now he done surpassed Dara, my daughter. But again, I'm one like, nope, don't baby him. They got to get this. And Dawn always look at me like, oh my goodness. Because Dawn think I go overboard with my kids,
I'll be like, what are you doing? You're doing too much.
Because I'm an athlete and I'm like, no, they can do this. And once I see, and one thing in my house, if I see that you have the potential to do something, ooh, I'm gonna work it. And once I realize that they can do it, oh no. And I tell teachers, no, do not baby them, do not enable them. You push them as if they was a neurotypical child, because I want them to know and understand how to be safe in the water. That's how I am.
Yes. And you know what? You guys encouraged me, like this summer, I'm taking him to get some water safety training. Get him going, and don't be worried about what could be. Just go and see and do it and see what happens.
Give
how he actually reacts.
Right. But don't throw him in the deep end. I'm just saying.
I won't throw him in.
Please don't do that.
No, I had professionals there, but I did used to take my kids to the pool, and I was like, no, they need to go seek some real lessons. And to this day now, both my kids are, water safety. I have no problem with my kids taking to the pool.
So I do have some questions I want to ask, because it's so nice to see an engaged audience going here. So Melissa, I'm going to answer your questions now. She wants to know, is it common to have multiple children with autism? Now, she has a friend who had twins with autism. One was verbal, one was nonverbal. And because I know for Daria, you have two on the spectrum, and then for Don, you're unique, I guess, in a sense, because you had a neurotypical daughter, three, and then but kind of not everyone. So
right.
Daria, do you want to answer first, or Don? Whoever.
Yeah. Well, I have two, and both my kids are on the spectrum. Stated before, they're entirely different. My daughter uses her AAC device, touch chat. So that's how she communicates. And my son, he's more verbal, and he also sometimes uses the touch chat, device. However, he's more verbal. But no, you can have both my kids are on the spectrum, both.
And so have you seen it where like is it common, or as far as generally, do you think is that happen often, or I'm not sure the stats on multiple children?
Well, at that time, I knew that when my daughter they was watching my son closely, because they said it was a higher percent. I think it's over 50%. Over 50% if your first child have autism, that your second child can. And then I guess it was. They know, Dawn. I guess it was.
Listen, it is something that I thought about frequently, right? Because I had another child after CJ, and so CJ is my middle child. He's my only son. He's the meat in the sandwich, surrounded by, his two sisters. So I remember when I was pregnant with my youngest, and I took my son, we went to the doctor all the time due to different situations. We went to the neurologist. And so I was pregnant, and I asked the neurologist, what's the chances of this child I'm carrying will have autism as well? And he turned around to me and he said, it's not that bad. It's only 1 in 40. And I remember thinking, 1 in 40? I mean, already the chances of having a child with autism were like, what, 1 in 1? Back then, it was like 1 in 115. Mind you, this is 16 years ago. But your chances of having another child, when you already have a child with autism, having another one, he told me, increases to 1 in 40. And so my daughter, we closely monitored her, watched her. Here in Maryland, your child, if you already have a child that is different but able, you automatically qualify for services for that next child, starting as an infant, to monitor them, to get ahead of it. And I actually did put her in, had her get receiving services just so that I can get ahead of it if something was wrong. But nothing was wrong with her. Nothing was different about her. And here we are, But yes, I know families where all 5 kids have autism. I know another situation where the brother and the sister, just like Daria, both of them, out of the 2, they had 2 kids with autism. So I know so many situations where it almost runs in the family.
Well, and while you piggyback off that, I forgot to mention in my journey in the beginning, I did do genetic testing with Daryl, and however, she was found with a genetic abnormality, which is called an NAA15. So she was diagnosed NAA15, and she was around about 4 or 5 years old. And at that time, it was like it was only 11 people in the entire world. So in the database that they had, who had this genetic abnormality. So myself, my husband, we all got tested. We both got tested, and we didn't have a genetic abnormality, So again, I tell people, you just don't know, with the mutation and everything, is it genetically related? So then, because of my daughter, they found a genetic abnormality, and people don't believe that it's a lot of genetic abnormalities out there that they just don't know what it is. But they only have like a grasp of like, I think 20,000. Don't quote me wrong, but it's a handful of genetic abnormalities that they actually just have a name to it, know what it is. Then we had my son tested, everything was clear, so just don't know.
And then another question I have here is autism more prevalent in certain cultural groups than others that you've seen or read?
Let's see. I have not seen the statistic on that. I do know that minorities usually get diagnosed later, but I don't know the statistics when you compare all of the different ethnicities. But I do know that African Americans and Hispanics typically get diagnosed 2 to 3 years sometimes later, or sometimes not till they get to kindergarten in some cases, with autism in comparison to the other ethnicities.
And then I guess one more question I have too in regards to like your schooling. So did your child attend a public school or regular school, and they had an IEP process, or what was their schooling like?
So I can tell you for CJ, starting at when I put him in when he was placed in a program through the infant and toddlers program, at 18 months, he had something called a non-public placement. So we went to a program where the county paid for it. So it was not public, it's non-public placement. So from 18 months to 5, CJ went to a school where he received ABA, and the county, the school system paid for it. Once he got, so he still had a IEP. I think back then when you're in the infant and toddlers program, it's called something like the IFSP. I forget the name, but he had a plan starting at 18 months. He transitioned to an IEP at 3. He stayed in that program, and the county paid for it. Once he got to kindergarten, we continued in a public school program for children with autism. He actually then moved to another program, still in the public school system, that was for children that had mixed abilities, not just autism. And he's been in this program up until this day. So yeah, we had non-public placement up until 5. Then we have public school from 5 to now 18.
Great.
Yeah. In my case, where we started again with the infants and toddlers, at that time, my daughter was like a little 22 months, and they would come to the house. So they would do home-based services. And then at the age of 3, you had an option to continue to do home-based services where they would come into the household and teach or help with the development, or you can transition to school-based. So both my kids, once they reached 3, I transitioned them into the school-based program in the public school system. And there we started the IEP process, having an IEP plan. And they have like regional different programs and at different schools. And then once you complete, I guess before you get to kindergarten, then what is it, Dawn? They have like the regional, like ALS, different type of programs based on your children's situation. So, but both my kids are in the public school system program, and they both receive services, speech, and OT. Yeah.
That is so good to hear. And I know every state is so different in what they provide their populations, I guess you can say. So it's great to hear. I mean, Maryland to me has always been like one of those progressive, great states. I used to live in Maryland, so I was in PG County, because where you guys are too, right?
but one thing I do want, to cut you off. One thing within our program, like Dawn said, is they have inclusion. So you have the opportunity to do the inclusion, where it gives them the opportunity to be with their peers. As they say, the neurotypical to be mainstream. So throughout the day, my children They do have their self-contained class where they have their one-on-ones and the goals and objectives that's in their IEP. They reach attack those goals and objectives. However, still have the opportunity to be mainstream and do their work within their main and within the general class setting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the program where my children are, I believe is wonderful because it gives them the opportunity to work on their social skills and to also receive the one-on-one services that they need.
That's great. Like, so when my time comes to identify how to work that, I'm calling you guys to help me through. So, like, I love hearing how he was able to utilize those programs in those ways at the public school, where it's supporting your sons or your daughters, through their different able needs. So love that.
Right. I think the best thing to do is ask questions and assume you know nothing. Right. Because sometimes we walk around here assuming we know all the programs based on what we've seen online. But there may be a program available at a school that's not listed online. A lot of us go to Google first, right? And we search everything. And then after we hit Google, we feel we know the entire situation. We know all the resources. But I find that, especially back then, the best information I was given was through conversations with parents and asking questions.
Yeah. And so my next question for you is kind of going back to what Daria had said in regards to exposing your child to many things and seeing what they like. One thing I'm really passionate about is like travel and being and experience things outside of the U.S., especially what's going on in the U.S., maybe in the future living abroad. So I was curious to hear about maybe some of your experiences in traveling with your child or encouraging other moms with special needs to get out. Because what I find, at least in my local area sometimes, is that people feel confined to their homes. They're nervous to go out to dinner because they're not sure how the child might act, or, like, so they kind of, don't fully enjoy life because they're afraid of what could potentially happen. So, like, what are ways they can expand?
Well, Don, you can start this because we had a great conversation looking stares. Because that's last night on our platform. It was about the looks and stares. So you really can't, worry about what people think because you're gonna always get the looks and stares. Okay, believe me or that. But you want to start, Don, or I can go ahead and roll with it.
Listen, I'm gonna let you roll with it because you want to roll.
So you want me to pinpoint traveling or just the things that I do with my kids?
Yeah, it can be travel as well as just experiencing things out in the world.
As you know me, I'm one that, like Dante, I have to live, okay? And my kids gonna have to live. So in my mindset, we got to get this. And it's my goal and my job how I'm going to get them to get this, and I take my kids out. In the beginning, I took my kids to the supermarket. They tore it up, both of them. My daughter used to be a flopper. She was a screamer. But again, you're not going, let me back it up. Even your loved ones with autism doesn't mean they can't learn, okay? However, you just got to give them the tools and techniques that allow them to be able to be the best they can be. So I say, hey, I'm going to have to go to the store. I want to travel. I want to do things. So what do I need to do to get my kids prepared? Now, it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. It might take years, but you got to stay the course and continuously take them. And what's the key word? Expose them. You can't worry about if they tear it up. Again, you got to be able to have the patience and the will. Now, I'm not going to lie. Some days I don't even feel like being bothered because I already know they're going to act a pure D food. That's what I say. But then I say, okay, today is a good day for me to teach them, traveling. Both my kids have been on the airplane. They have traveled because, again, mommy and daddy want to travel. So again, eventually they're going to get older. We're going to get older, but I still want to try to have the same opportunities, just as if they was neurotypical, and expose them and have them experience the same things as anybody else. So I take them to a whole lot of places. Yeah. And then if I have to deal with a situation accordingly, I do what I have to do. But no, my kids, it's full reign for my kids. Oh, my household, it's full reign.
Awesome.
And I'm going to piggyback on what Daria said. But before I do that, I just want to let you know, that all of the moms and dads out there worried about how their kids are going to behave do understand the worst behavior I've seen in public were not by kids on the spectrum.
Yeah.
They're by neurotypical
Okay.
kids. Okay. So we have, I want everyone to put that into perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been a teacher. I've seen it. I've seen a lot of things. Okay. And so do not feel that behaviors are going to prevent you from leaving the house. All children have behaviors. They may be triggered differently. Kids on the spectrum tend to get overstimulated, right? So you need to prepare for that. Okay. So understand that you're going to need a quiet corner. If you're going on an airline and you're waiting on a flight, don't wait in the sitting area. Wait somewhere else until they call for boarding. You need to prepare your child. You may need to go over a social story. Prepare your child for what is going to happen when they get on a plane. In regard to just going out and about in public, you have to teach them to wait in line like you have to teach any other child to wait in line, right? So listen, we're going to wait in line. Okay. Now, if they'd have a hard time understanding that because their receptive or expressive language is a bit behind, you go over social story. They're not going to get it the first time. They're not going to get it the second time, but they may get it that third time. But if you never expose them, they will never get it.
You will never get it.
So you have to take them and expose them. My son's been on an airplane. I mean, he's done everything. Okay. And I have a daughter that plays travel volleyball, so he doesn't have a choice.
See,
he has to travel with us.
No.
We go to different states. He was in Florida last month. You know what I mean? Now we do take advantage of pre-boarding. So, for example, if you're on Southwest, you can just let them know ahead of time. I have a child or an adult who will need to pre-board, and take advantage of that because you get to get on the airplane first. You get to get them settled first. Put your luggage away, get them settled, so that they're not having to worry about people being close to them, behind them, stopping. They don't understand why they have to stop. Take advantage of any program or any situation where you get to prepare them for that experience.
That's right, Dawn. Again, you have to live. And again, but again, Dawn hit the key word. You have to prepare yourself. Prepare yourself and take the time to teach and show them. Again, the tools and those great tools that Dawn said. We do social stories. We talk to them. Or like you have to think quick sometimes. If stuff is overstimulated, find that corner. So you have to be on top of your game, and that's the thing. Understanding your child, because everybody child that's on the spectrum is different, but you have to know your kids' needs, because one child's needs are different than another's. So again, I have two different ones. So I know one don't like crowds, but I know my other one don't like noise. The other one doesn't fit her. So it's like, okay, I'm have to balance all of this at one time. However, the end goal is for me to get where we need to get. And whatever it takes for me to get them there, I have to put the time and effort to do that.
And as you said too, and you're preparing them overall for life in general, because I'm not going to be able to always control what our environments are. So even if she may not like or he may not like sounds, there's going to be sounds in this world. So you have to get them exposed to being used to it. You can't always, hover in that sense and not be able to show them what life is.
True story. My son couldn't stand the grocery store. I took him so much, and he realized that, hold on, when I go to the grocery store, I get something. So whatever it is that triggered him, that made him understand, this a win-win for me. But again, it took him to get there. So whatever, if he was overstimulated before, it don't bother him now, because all he talking about is going to the grocery store and buying.
There you go. I love that. Incentive-based learning, right? Do what you need to do to get them in there. And that's for any child.
Yeah. But he wouldn't have known if I never exposed him, because if I was so worried about, his behavior, if I was so, timid to do that, you got to take him out. You can't live you can't in the house.
Right. You got to take them out. And so my daughter plays volleyball. She plays volleyball in a convention center with thousands of people at times. And so I brought my son to a volleyball tournament in Florida. And mind you can only imagine the noise. of about 100 different courts back and forth, people cheering,
Yeah.
ooh, ah, everything. My son is sitting there on his iPad like this.
No, Don,
like it's another day. But he has his headphones on, but they're not blocking out all. But he has been to so many volleyball tournaments. This woman stopped me because you can tell my son has behaviors because he rocks back and forth, and he, he's the size of an adult. So if you see him in public, now he's at the age where you can identify there's an issue. But she was like, I can't believe your son just sat there throughout an entire match and did not become irritable or have a temper tantrum. I said, my son's been to volleyball games for probably the last 8 years. He had no choice. So some things you just have to help them to adapt to the situation.
But Don and Terry, I told you, he is checking out the women though. See, that's what he's doing on the side. So he's a young adult. He's a young man. So don't get it twisted. He is looking at the women. Okay, don't get it. He likes them.
That's for another show. That's not for today.
Well, I'm sure there's like an audience for sure to hear about the teenage years on the spectrum and how they develop and all of that, and dating and everything else that goes along with that.
Yes, like I said, that's a whole nother show.
Right.
But see how we laugh. Me and Don, we talk.
Yeah, I love the energy that you and Don bring. Like, this is awesome. I do have a question from someone, from Sandy. Do any of your children have self-injuring behaviors, or have you seen or know of children with that behavior?
So I can tell you my son does not have any self-injurious behaviors. And I believe the way they assess our kids in our county is they try to keep children of like behaviors together. So my son is in a classroom where none of them have self-injurious behaviors and none of them elope. And so I don't get to see that. He doesn't get to see that. But we do have another program for children who have more extreme self-injurious behaviors. And that's another program that students in our county would attend. But throughout his lifetime, he hasn't had any self-injurious behavior.
Same here. Neither of my kids have self-injurious behavior. Now, well, my son is, when I say elope, he likes to run, but when he was younger, but he's getting better. He's an attention seeker though. He's one that will just do things to get your attention. And if you don't engage in that, he'll just come right on back, so, but self-injurious behavior, no, neither one of my kids.
Yeah. And same for me too, in that sense. I haven't seen anything like that, at least for now, thankfully. So,
yeah.
And let's see. Wow, this has been such a great conversation. Oh my goodness. It's like, I'm like, how you have one thing in mind, but then it's even better when you have the conversation. This is really rocking. And here we are already at an hour. And I don't want to hold your time up either, because it's been so good. But I guess I'll ask the audience, since we have folks engaged, is there any other questions you guys may want to ask the wonderful ladies of the Autism Grind? And while they're thinking of questions, I have one for you. Because I know how you mentioned you started Autism Grind to be a nonprofit. And it really is your passion and how you want to serve people. And I know you do it through your Facebook group, but what are some other ways you want the organization to help people, or how can we support you and those things?
Well, actually, more of our platform is more for the caregivers. We feel that, it's a lot of resources, not taken away from our children that needs the resources, but who have to take care of our children on the spectrum, caregivers. And we have to make sure that we are right. So our platform is to be there and be that support for the caregivers, because we never take time for ourselves. We always put ourselves last. So we are here, and like I said, we have a Friday night grind where you just come and be yourself. It's a non-judgmental zone. We talk about autism, but in a light and funful way. And in this a way for you, an opportunity for you to be brief and just sit back and take time for yourself. So that's more of our platform, is for the caregivers, and providing that support for them.
So we
Awesome.
do have the Friday night grind once a month where we get together and we talk about different topics. If you want to follow us on Facebook, you can put into the search the Autism Grind, GRIND, and please, feel free to follow our page. We're all one community here to help each other, right? We're here for the Spectrum Sister Chat. We're all here to support one another. So follow us on Facebook. We also have a Facebook group where we have more intimate conversations and share information and resources. So when you go to our page, hit the group icon so you can join us there. And we also have an Instagram at the Autism Grind. So we're all about sharing information and resources. Especially within our community. We have to get the word out. We have to help one another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also have to piggyback from the Autism Grind as well, because we both, like I said, me and Dawn, we on two different journeys. I also have a channel called Vibe with the Wisest. And that's a channel where I show my family and how we are navigating through this journey with both my kids on the spectrum. So I'm beginning to build that platform as well, just to see how we just roll every day, So yeah, but like I said, we're here like on our Friday night grind. We do giveaways because again, we want our caregivers to feel good, and understand that, hey, you're not alone. You can do this. We all can do this. But when we do this, we're going to have a good time doing this. But we're going to learn from one another. We're going to help one another, and we're going to have a good time with one another. So it's all about fun and having a good time if you come to the Autism Grind.
Yeah. Like y'all my kind of people. I love, like you said, having a good time. That's how I feel too. Like I'm ready to have a good time. Like I already had my little cry when I first got the diagnosis, but now, like I said, I'm ready to have some fun with it and live and enjoy life and watch him as he grows and develops and show his abilities as he goes along. And similar to how you said, like you're focused on the caregiver. So is mine. So with the whole Shades of Autism Parent Network, to me, is meant to be for the parents, really focused on them, making sure that they are well. Because really what comes down to, like, if they're not fully, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially well, that's going to impact overall how their child develops too. So my thing too is they focus on the parent. And just to do a quick plug for it, so for Autism Month, I did a free virtual summit. So I'm not sure if you saw it yet, but it's called the Awesome Mama Summit. So please do check that out. It's still up. We had some really great speakers that talked about topics relating to financial wellness, estate planning, exercise and wellness, and eating. I have a great woman who talks about plant-based diet, and how she shifted to having that kind of diet. Traveling with your kids, right, and seeing how that's a part of self-care. So in that summit, we have some really good topics on it. So for you and the audience, definitely check it out there for you. And I was going to mention, it slipped my mind.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I always tell people autism is not my life. It's a part of my life. So once you realize that, you can't make it your entire life, because again, you have other aspects of your life that you want to, thrive or be good at or want to attempt or whatever. So you got to find that balance. Me and Dawn always, tell our grinders it's the balance. And once you can find that balance, you feel good and feel better about what you're doing and the direction in which you're going, but your life you have a different lifestyle. It is what it is, but got to figure it out.
And then I have some questions too. Hopefully on your side of this platform, do you see the chat? Because I know some people would like you to type in the chat your websites. Daria, the name of your channel, was that a YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I can type it right here. I'm not. Dawn is the tech.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let me open up another tab. Okay.
So I think hopefully. Okay, like do you see the comments? Like it seems like a little comment, but you don't see the comment. Okay.
So
maybe if you could go off Facebook.
I got it open. I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't worry about a thing. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. So type in all of your sites.
That's why she's my girl. We got to help one though.
Yeah. Yeah, so type in all of
Literally.
your sites so we can follow you on all the different channels. I definitely want to watch your family on YouTube. I know it's got to be fun.
Yes, and I have a lot more material coming. Again, my life is hectic, and I tell everybody I'm doing my best, and me doing it myself, but give me some time. I will be uploading more. I'm trying to be consistent, but again, my life is hectic.
Nice.
It life,
Yeah.
but it's very authentic. My kids, their personalities are just off the chain. My daughter is sassy, and right, Dawn, sassy pants, and
And she get it from you.
yes. And I tell people, I think because I've treated her as if she is who she is from day one. This is one little girl, I tell you, that is sassy with that device. And just her personality. I tell people, just because they not verbal, don't think that girl is a hot mess, okay? But I love it. I embrace it. And, she is who she is.
Yeah. And then also, one of your grinders is in the chat. And I'm going to give her a shout out, Jeanette. She said how your network is excellent.
She know we party.
She says non-judgmental info sharing, creative, supportive environment has been phenomenal. Yeah. So that's a great testimonial to make sure you join the Autism Grind.
We salute. Yes. The salute.
And if y'all join us on Fridays, you just need to bring a glass of wine.
Oh yeah, we do tell people now you don't have to drink, but we do. And people know, and those who follow us, they like, they love it when the wine kick in with us. That's when we take it to a whole nother level.
That's right.
Well, now I know. So what time's on Friday, just so I can put on my calendar? What time's on Friday?
Oh, 9 p.m.
It's
9 p.m.
Yeah, 9 p.m. And we usually do it once a month. So you have to follow our page. Once you follow our page, you'll get notification of the event. So we will create an event on Facebook. You'll get notification, and we will have posts up to let individuals know when we're about to have our next one. We just had our last one yesterday. We had a ball, so go to the page. Just, feel free to watch it. And I just put into the chat the link for the Facebook page and the Vibe for the Wise's YouTube link.
Okay, good. Now I know our grinders, it might be a little bit different if we have our grinders in the audience because they don't see a glass in our hand. So this is a little bit different for them. They like, hold up, I don't see Dawn and Derek. I don't see nothing in their hand.
Okay. Listen, it's Saturday. Okay, during the day.
Well, okay.
We have to be alert.
Some people might say, hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Yeah, there you go.
We alert for y'all now. I'm telling you that now. But if you did it at nighttime, it would have been a different story, okay?
Yeah. Well, then on that note, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna live life. We're enjoying life. Mm-hmm. It's a part of our journey and our story, but it's not who we are. It doesn't just like define who we are or who our children are. And so I guess in conclusion, because this we probably talking about an hour because it's so fun being with you. But so I just want to thank you again. I was a fangirl watching on the sidelines in the Autism Grind group. So I enjoy being able to talk to you and have this additional link to you too for future. So I know our audience enjoyed you all and look forward to more. And I guess I'll do a quick plug too. I'm putting in the chat. I have a YouTube channel as well. Okay. So it's Mocha Mama on Fire. So where I'm doing my kind of like I call Autism Mom vlogs and my experiences with ABA and all those different things. And then I also talk about financial wellness as well.
Okay.
So definitely put in the chat, and so check me out there too. And if anything else, I don't see any more questions. I just see hearts and love. So thank you. And
thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, very much. Thank you for having us. If you have any questions, just reach out to us. And we know we're here to help and share. And that's the only way we're going to get better as a community. We have to share. And don't be afraid to tell your story and ask. Right. Don't always say ask questions. It's okay. You don't know everything. I'm still learning. And I still ask Dawn. Dawn keep telling me, it's going to get better. I say, so when is it? Okay, when? You tell me at that age where it's going to do a shift, okay? But everything she has, but everything she has told me has come into tuition. and so come to light. And but like I said, we're not doctors. We're here just to help one another get through this journey.
Mm-hmm. That's what we need to have. Having the peer support to me is almost even better than to say maybe hearing some some expert. Because like I said, you're the expert on your child. You're the expert on knowing how to navigate what you did for your child. And really hearing from you is how we really learn the best. So again, I love it. Thank you too so much. And I said that we feel that your stories are enlightening. Everyone really enjoyed this conversation. So if anything, I'm going to tap you guys again for a future chat.
Yeah.
No problem.
No problem.
That's right.
Well, enjoy your weekend ahead. Thank you again. And until next time, everyone watching, be blessed and look out for more Sista chats. And if you want to have a chat with me too, let me know. Be glad to do it.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right, be safe. Take care.